Good evening, everyone. It's 7 o'clock on a Monday in Gardner, Kansas, so I'm going to call City Council to order. Invite everybody in attendance to stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our hopes when putting the agenda together for this week's meeting was that we'd need to get out of here in a hurry to watch the Jayhawks in the national championship game. That didn't quite work out, but we've got a number of business items beginning with a public hearing. And the public hearing is to consider holding, well, we're going to consider holding a public hearing for the purpose of receiving comments to request a waiver for the distance limitation to allow for the sale of cereal malt beverages within 200 feet of a school, church, or library during the Festival on the Trails event to be held June 10th and 11th, 2016. Jeannie, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is primarily a housekeeping item in order for the Festival on the Trails to have their beer garden. We have to hold a public hearing about the waiver of distance limitations since they are within 200 feet of a school, church, and library. And then once the public hearing is held later in the meeting under new business, we'll consider approval of the waiver of distance limitation and the approval of the CMB license so that they can have the beer garden at the annual Festival on the Trails event.
Okay. Thank you, Jeannie. I'd entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Harrison, second Schut, that we open the public hearing for public hearing item number 1. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, any abstention? The public hearing is open. Anyone wishing to make comments regarding the public the cereal malt beverage waiver, please step to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and be heard. With no one coming forward, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Harrison, second Melton, that we close the public hearing. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, any abstention? The public hearing is closed. All right, now we get to the fun stuff. So, we've got 3 proclamations this evening, one of which I'm going to read, but we're going to start with a presentation for our Parks and Recreation Department. Come on, Jeff. Get up out of that seat.
Yes, sir.
So, I'm not going to say a whole lot about this. I'm going to turn this over to Jeff. But we won Kansas Recreation and Park Association Special Event of the Year Award, Aquatics Division, right? And I'm going to let Jeff talk about it. I'm going to get a little piece of hardware that I'm going to let him hand over to Adrienne, and hopefully she'll be glad to say a couple of words. I know she's got certainly you've got a favorite lifeguard over there.
All 70 of them.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, let me hand over the hardware to Adrienne first of all. I'll let her speak a little bit about the event here briefly. But what I just want to
Jeff,
say is...
Can you move over to the microphone?
Sure.
Thank you, just so that folks have...
You bet.
What I would like to say is that this event was a new event for us in 2015. It was really in celebration to some of the renovations we did to the aquatic center. A lot of effort went into play in the off season, so we were kind of celebrating our fresh look. And so naturally, Adrienne is our recreation supervisor that oversees the operations at the aquatic center and does an outstanding job. Naturally, we asked her to plan a special event to kind of celebrate that. And certainly she did that with great effort and great reward, like she does with everything. and its first year was recognized with Special Event of the Year award. So I'll let her speak briefly on what that included, and hopefully we'll be able to see all of you out there this year, because it was so received so well that we're going to do it again and then some. So.
Okay, yeah. Well, like Jeff said, at this event, we planned it kind of to celebrate our renovations that we had recently went through. And also just as a kickoff to our summer, it was done on the first day of summer. So it was very fun to plan. We, when I was thinking of ideas, I tried to think of all the ideas that would encompass the ultimate pool party. And so we had free giveaways. We gave away free food. We had some entertainment. The Kansas City Sea Sprites gave a presentation, and we had water slides out there, some interactive games, and live music. So, and then no pool party is complete without a mermaid. We had a real mermaid out there, and the little girls loved that. So it was our highest attended day of the year last summer. So the staff, I think, would look at me like I was crazy at one point, but we brought in a lot of people from other communities, and it was a lot of fun. So as you can see from the pictures, we had the perfect day for it. It was a nice warm day, so that always helps.
Well, congratulations on Denise got the camera. I'm not getting away that easy.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a proclamation for National Crime Victims' Rights Week, and we've got some special guests here this evening that I'm gonna read the proclamation. I'm gonna present it to them, but I've got Janae Hanslick here from Safe Home, and a couple of their board members, including the board of directors, and Jay, right? Jay Leonards? Okay. Which Jay's comfortable here. He's a former Overland Park City Councilman, and as well as Mike Press, who used to be interim city administrator here, and actually was part of the interview group that helped us land our current city administrator, along with myself and Christy Harrison. So if you guys want to come up and watch me fumble my way through this, I'd appreciate it.
You did it last year just fine,
Huh?
so I know you'll do great.
So, whereas Americans are victims of more than 20 million crimes each year, and crime can touch the lives of anyone, regardless of age, national origin, race, creed, religion, gender, sexual orientation, immigration, or economic status. And whereas too many communities feel disconnected from the justice and social response systems and have lost trust in the ability of those systems to recognize them and respond to their needs. And whereas victims of crime, victims of repeat victimization who fail to receive supportive services are at greater risk for long-term consequences of crime. And whereas intervening early with services that support and empower victims provides a pathway to recover from crime and abuse. And whereas honoring the rights of victims, including the right to be heard and to be treated with fairness, dignity, and respect, and working to meet their needs, rebuild their trust in the criminal justice and social services system. And whereas serving victims and rebuilding their trust restores hope to victims and survivors as well as their communities. And whereas National Crime Victims' Rights Week, April 10th through 16th, 2016, is an opportune time to commit to ensuring that all victims of crimes, even those who are challenging to reach or serve, are offered culturally and linguistically accessible and appropriate services in the aftermath of crime. And whereas the City of Gardner is hereby dedicated to serving victims, building trust, and restoring hope for justice and healing, now therefore be it resolved that I, Chris Morrow, Mayor of the City of Gardner, Kansas, do hereby proclaim the week of April 10th through 16th as Crime Victims' Rights Week. So, with that, I'm going to present this to
Thank you.
Janae.
Yep.
And if you could take a couple of moments and talk to us about Crime Victims' Rights Week, as well as a little bit about what your organization, Safe Home, does. Safe Home is also supported by one of our premier local businesses, Groundhouse Coffee, the tip jar. If you ever throw money in there, that's money that's going to Safe Home. So,
Thank you
Sure.
so much, I really appreciate it.
You know, as Chris was reading this proclamation, I couldn't help but think that it's only been in about the past 30 years that domestic violence has been recognized as a crime. In fact, my mom grew up in a home where there was domestic violence and child abuse back in the 1940s, and there were no places to help her family. There was no recognition that domestic violence is a crime and that it is a community problem. We are so fortunate today that our community is dedicated to helping victims of domestic violence and their children. In fact, this is Safe Home's 36th year of operation, and we are the only domestic violence agency in Johnson County. We have a 60-bed shelter, a large counseling program. We have staff who are at the district attorney's office, and we in Johnson County can be so proud of the services that we have in this community. We really are unique. Not many communities across the country have the kind of partnerships that we have to help victims of crime, particularly those who have experienced domestic violence. Jay or Mike, would you like to add anything to that?
Go ahead.
Not much to add, but I do want to thank the community, Gardner, the support for Safe Home, and I want to emphasize again, Janae had mentioned we do have a residential unit, but by large, our counseling part of that program involves more people, and it's a community that reaches out and throughout Johnson County, and once again, we're very appreciative of the support of the city council and the community at large for our efforts in the community. So thank you.
you know, I've toured the residential facility. It is a fantastic facility. They do great work there, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And your efforts should be lauded and applauded, and we appreciate you for coming out this evening. I want to thank you for all your efforts. And again,
Oh, good.
thanks. Okay. Now, we come to the piece de resistance this evening. It's Autism Awareness Month. I love April. And not just because it's springtime, and not just because we do the Gardner Greenway and Earth and Arbor Day cleanup. Jeff knows that's one of my favorites. But we're going to read a little proclamation for Autism Awareness Month, and we've got some special guests here. And if you all would come up and join me, I would greatly appreciate it. Everybody's welcome. You know, if you want to sit right there in the front row, if that'll make you feel better, that'd be great. I'm just glad you're here, pal.
Thank you.
So, I'm going to read this, and I'm going to turn this over to, to Jennifer Smith to talk about Autism Awareness Month a little bit. But we'll kick this off. And whereas autism is a complex developmental disability, signs typically appear during early childhood and affect the individual's ability to communicate, process sensory input, and interact with others. And whereas autism is the third most common developmental disability, affecting 3.5 million individuals nationwide. And whereas more health professionals become proficient in diagnosing autism, more children are being diagnosed on the autism spectrum, resulting in rates as high as 1 in 68 children nationally. And whereas although a cure for autism has not been found, persons with autism can be helped to reach their greatest potential. Accurate early diagnosis and the resulting appropriate education and intervention are vital to the future growth and development of the individual. And whereas support groups, such as the Autism Society of the Heartland, which is an affiliate of the Autism Society, have dedicated years of service in their ongoing efforts to advocate for the rights, humane treatment, and appropriate education of all persons with autism. And whereas these groups remain committed to awareness and to educating families, professionals, and the general public to better understand this lifelong disability. And whereas the Autism Society, now celebrating over 50 years of service to the autism community, is spearheading an awareness effort in order to educate parents, professionals, and the general public about creating a better world for autism. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Chris Morrow, Mayor of the City of Gardner, Kansas, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2016 as Autism Awareness Month. So. I'm going to give this to Jennifer, and can you just speak loud?
Yeah, I can speak loud.
I don't want to hide you behind the podium.
It's too short. So, do any of you want to say anything? Luke, do you want to say something, Luke? Okay.
Please do.
Everybody, autism is our wisdom of God. Jesus wants us to do good. And people will be saved. And I'm done being in charge. People will I'm done being in charge.
I want a black on my shirt, but I was being violent and trying to talk back to Grandpa, and Grandpa, and I just said up and down, and that for being violent, I just said a bad word and said it, making sure to be cool, don't cuss and don't be bad.
One of these young men, which one of you guys called me president of Gardner?
Luke did.
Yeah, it's these guys. So all you city council members up there, members up there, there's people in the community trying to give me elevate my status. I appreciate that, fellas.
So you better start calling him that.
Jennifer,
Your
please.
meeting's been hijacked.
Yeah.
We just want to thank the community and, of course, our awesome parents and our teachers that are here tonight and our therapists for supporting our loved ones with autism. Because as you can see, all of our loved ones have a voice. Many times they can communicate, and many times they can't, but they all have a voice. And it's important that we advocate every day and encourage our loved ones to grow and give them opportunities to do their things. And as Brendan Schertz says, just be you. So, all right? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Luke.
We have Winston, and we need to have Rayport Attraction in Johnson County.
Ah, very good, thank you. Prior to this meeting, I also signed a proclamation along with the Johnson County government, the Family Conservancy, and the United Community Services of Johnson County, designating the Week of the Child being for April 10th through the 16th. So, with all of that business behind us, we will move on to public comments. Those in attendance wishing to make public comment, now would be the opportunity. Just approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, and be heard.
Hello, my name is Jacob Briggs of Boy Scout Troop 88, and I live at 161 Cherry Hill Circle here in Gardner, and I'm here for the Citizenship and the World Merit Badge, and I look forward to listening to your discussion. Thank you.
Thanks, Jacob.
Thank you, Jacob. Anyone else? With no one coming forward, we will move on to the consent agenda. Is there a council member that would like to remove an item from the consent agenda?
Yes, I'd like to remove item number 3 from the consent agenda.
Okay, anyone else?
Move to approve items 1 and 2 on the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion Winters, second Harrison, that we approve consent agenda items 1 and 2. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstention? Consent agenda items 1 and 2 pass. Consent agenda item number 3. Steve?
Yeah, I just had a question about the bid process. We see one bid on here, and I did not see any other bids that were submitted for this particular set of equipment. Do you happen to have any information on that process?
I don't have them with me. We did, or I did submit 3 bids originally. All of them were within just a few $100s of each other. Turnkey Mobile we've used for several years for different things. They're actually fairly local. They're on the Missouri side. And the service center for them is actually in Leawood, which allows us to get any service that needs to be done almost overnight.
Okay, and so, are these people that we've used, you said that we've used them in the past on?
Yeah, I've actually bought parts for laptops that we've been using through Turnkey for several years.
Okay, and just for the record, because some people might not know what this is about, when they see the price tag of $30,000 for 10 laptops, they're probably thinking that's a really high price.
Hmm.
But these are Toughbooks, which are Panasonic.
Yeah, these are, and actually, these are about half the price of the current ones that we're using.
Yeah.
These are what are called a semi-rugged laptop.
Mm-hmm.
And the price also includes a mount that we have to be able to put it in the car. And we also included a 3-year extended warranty on each one. So that basically, if anything within the first 3 years does go wrong, they just fix it, and we don't have to worry about being down or for very long.
Sure. I mean, I guess it's a little different from your typical laptop at home because these have to be able to withstand wear and tear. They're in police cars.
They're also in use considerably more.
Yes.
And just the conditions that we use them in, they're out in the car, getting the dust, the heat, the humidity, everything, and then they need to be able to run 24/7 when we need them to.
And this was on the budget, so.
Yes, it was.
They're covered. Okay, great.
What's the expected lifespan on one of these laptops?
The expected lifespan on them is somewhere around 4 to 7 years, generally speaking, for the ruggedized. The current ones that we have, the newest ones, which is about half of our fleet, are 6 years old now. The rest of them are anywhere from 10 to 12 years old.
Are we contemplating a hardware replacement program similar to what we're having with maintenance on the other?
Yes, I would like to. I think we extended these well beyond their limits, and they're starting to show their age. The touch screens aren't working anymore on some of them. The GPSs just recently have started acting up, so they're definitely coming to the end to where we're going to end up having to pay a lot more to replace parts on them and have them be down than it would be to just replace them.
Sure. All right, thanks. That's all the questions I had.
Anyone else? No one else has any other questions? I'd entertain a motion for consent agenda item number 3.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Shute, second Harrison, that we approve consent agenda item number 3. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstention? Consent agenda item number 3 passes. We will move on to new business items. New business item number 1, consider a request for a waiver of the distance limitation to allow for the sale of cereal malt beverages within 200 feet of a school, church, or library during the Festival on the Trails event to be held on June 10th and 11th, 2016. And I understand that the city clerk who's presenting this is also going to present new business item number 2 at the same time, which is consider approving a general retailer special event permit allowing Festival on the Trails Association to sell cereal malt beverages for consumption on the premises for their event to be held June 10th and 11th, 2016. With that being done, Jeannie,
Yes,
welcome
Mr.
back
Mayor.
to the podium.
The first item is for the waiver of distance limitation, and currently, you can't have cereal malt beverages within 200 feet of a school, church, or library, but we do have provisions in the code that allows for the council to grant a waiver of distance limitation, starting with a public hearing, which you held earlier, and then you would vote to approve that waiver of distance limitation. The event is to be held June 10th and 11th. The beer garden will be open from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m., and it's in the same location as it has been in the past. The second part of approval is to approve the C&B license for them to sell the cereal malt beverages. It's a special event C&B license, so it's only valid for those 2 days.
Okay. We already had a public hearing about this, at which no one spoke, so, council members, discussion, questions, comments? Okay, you might not be playing, but we may still make tip-off. I would entertain a motion on new business item number 1.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Moore, second Shute, that we approve a request for a waiver of distance limitation to allow for the sale of retail cereal malt beverages within 200 feet of a school, church, or library during the Festival on the Trails event to be held June 10th and 11th, 2016. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstention? New business item number 1 passes. I'd entertain a motion on new business item number 2.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Harrison, second Winters, that we approve a general retailer special event permit allowing the Festival on the Trails Association to sell cereal malt beverages for consumption on the premises for the Festival on the Trails event to be held on June 10th and 11th, 2016. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstention? Steve Hale, I see you in the audience.
Beer man.
Sell your barley pop. Next item on the agenda is executive session, and we do have, I believe the council president's going to read a motion for us to adjourn into executive session.
Okay, I make a motion to recess into executive session to discuss the acquisition of real property pursuant to KSA 754319, subsection B6, specifically preliminary discussions relating to the acquisition of real property beginning at 7:30 p.m., returning to regular session at 7:40 p.m.
Second.
Motion Shute, second Moore, that we adjourn into executive session, returning at 7:40 p.m. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We stand in recess.
Mine auto-updated, showed all my sessions.
I would entertain a motion to resume regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Melton, second, Harrison, that we resume regular session. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, any abstention? We're back in regular session. That brings us to the end of the agenda. Council updates. Does staff have any updates for council? Johns, anything?
Just a reminder, the Utility Advisory Commission will meet this Thursday, April 7th at 7 p.m.
Very good, thanks. Jeff?
Just a couple real quick. Councilmember Melton, a few meetings ago, asked us to look into some possible options or new options for concession operations. Just wanted to give an update that as staff, we have started looking at that. In addition to that, we're adding a couple of healthy choice items in our concession operations as it is, but we are looking at, on perhaps even a weekly basis, introducing some new vendor options at both the Aquatic Center and Celebration Park for special days, special events certainly, and so forth. In line with that, with our goal to expand, enhance a lot of our special events, we're also looking at vendor operations with that, and that does include the July 4th celebration, which we will be doubling our vendors, and we will need to, because as you probably noticed, we've listed our lineup for entertainment, and it is sure to be a full house, probably standing room only. Parking will be a premium, so you might want to get there early. It should be a great show. As the mayor indicated, Earth Day Arbor Day celebration is sneaking up on us here April 23rd, so come out to Wynwood Park in the Greenway to join us in some cleanup efforts, which are certainly important down in there. And then we'll have some fun in the park with a picnic lunch and do a tree planting demonstration and so forth. Tournament season's in full swing. We had our first tournament of what will be, I believe there's 22 tournaments on the books for this season, which would, if we get them all in, it'll be a record year for us. So great success over the weekend. The facility out there at Celebration Park looked great. It was a full house, so a lot of success there. And then finally, just want to thank our governing body, Cheryl, our past administration, certainly all the staff, and then dear to my heart, our Parks and Recreation team for the last 16 years. This will be my last council meeting sitting in this chair after all these years, so it's been a great ride, been a thrill, and I've appreciated all the support and all the success that we've had over the years. That's all I have.
Thank you, Jeff. That's a bittersweet update, but best of luck going forward. For the people watching at home, Jeff has accepted a position as Deputy Director for Johnson County Parks and Recreation Department, a position that is newly created, and Jeff is certainly a well-deserving person to take on that task. Larry.
A couple of quick things. The Economic Development Advisory Committee will be meeting the third Thursday here in this room at 6 p.m. We've had 2 applications for fireworks stands have gone out the door. We've had 4 inquiries, but only 2 so far have come in and picked up a packet. They have not brought any applications back yet, but 2 packets have gone out in that particular category. Also, just a quick update, you may have noticed that the cargo containers are still back behind Austin's over there. We talked to Mr. Wilbanks today. He says his truck will be here tomorrow to get them. He meant to get them by the 29th, but his truck broke down according to him, and it's now repaired and should be gone tomorrow, so we'll see what tomorrow brings.
Thank you, Larry.
Thanks, Larry.
Brian.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to give the council a brief update on monument signage. At the last council meeting, there was discussion regarding the possibility of a smaller sign in the $20,000 to $30,000 price range that could be relocated at a future date when a larger monument sign was constructed. There was also discussion about a modular type sign that could be expanded or enlarged in the future. Staff did talk to several sign manufacturers And there was hesitation on a monument, or a modular sign. There was concern about changes in manufacturing processes over time, changes in material, and changes in direction. Basically, there was a concern that the final product may not look uniform. There was a feeling that it would be better to do it all at once. There was also a feeling that for $20,000 or $30,000, the city could get a really nice sign, likely in an aluminum style, that would be mounted on posts and could be relocated to another location in the future. The current sign is located adjacent to the KDOT facility and is not the best place for a permanent location. As the city grows to the other side of I-35, the better place for the sign would be north of 175th, along southbound I-35. In discussions with KDOT, this is definitely doable. However, the design and associated landscaping will need to be approved through KDOT. Jeff has done a lot of work on the entry signage over the last several years, and Robert and I will continue to work on this and to see what options are available for the short term.
Thank you, Brian. Lieutenant, you have anything for us?
Just to echo what Jeff was saying about the 4th of July, basically last year we filled our parking without having a big headliner. So we're in the very preliminary stages right now of setting up the logistics to do a shuttle service from the high school out to the park this year to see if we can alleviate what we're hoping to be the much larger crowd. But I think everything will work out fine. We've got it down to almost a science for getting everybody out of there in about half an hour. So as long as we don't continue to bring more cars to the park, which we have filled now, I think we'll still be able to get everybody out pretty quick.
Fantastic. Jeannie, anything? Laura?
I'm providing an update on, during my absence, Interim Director Wolf committed to you to provide some sort of airport financial to the Airport Advisory Board. So after discussing with Matt and thinking about it, we already have an internal budget to actual document that provides just exactly that. Budget by month to date and year to date, balance and percentage of year past, which I believe probably would provide just about all the information they needed, and we have it for both revenues and expenditures. So that's already been provided to Director Faust, and he can pass that on to them. And if they have any further questions, they can always contact finance, and we can dig deeper. Which brings me to another. Let me throw something out there for you to start thinking about. You'll recall that the airport is an enterprise fund, which means it's a business activity fund, which means it is supposed to be self-supporting by definition. So recall also that we set up a new budget fund this year for the 2016 budget because we didn't have an airport when we did the 15 budget. So we will be revising that budget as we do when we revise our other 2016 budget and the 2017 process. So coming soon, I'll provide you with some information on a cost allocation for the airport services provided by the general fund. And then that way you can make your thinking about your thoughts, and at that time you can provide your guidance on a budget policy decision regarding the general fund subsidy of the airport. So just throw that out there while we're talking about airport.
All right.
Thanks, Laura. Welcome back.
Cheryl?
No.
Okay. Does council have anything for staff? Rich?
I do. Actually, most of you guys probably saw the email from Cheryl about the buy local policy. I'll be honest with you, I really didn't like that answer, even though we voted on a buy local policy. As I was looking through the numbers again, I tried to find something that was $5,000 or more that would really be bought here locally. That would probably be a commercial grade mower. There's really not anything else in Gardner that we would buy that would probably be in that price range. So I really think that, one, I'm a little disappointed that even with the 5-0 vote, we aren't doing as much to buy more stuff locally as we could. But I think we probably need to revisit that because obviously with the direction we gave and the $5,000 limit, I think we need to lower that because, again, we're gonna brag about we're spending all this money locally, but we're really not, because with the $5,000 cap, there's nothing, we can buy anything anywhere else and go, well, it's under $5,000. So,
As the current policy reads, because I went through with a fine tooth comb, and I think that you had called me about this, so I want to just let folks know what we talked about. The current policy reads that that the limitation is due to the fact that it's competitive. Anything that goes out to bid must, you have to, that's where the buy local policy kicks in.
Right.
If it's lower than 5,000, staff carries something called a P card. And that P card is where they make their expenditures.
Right.
So, it's up to the discretion of the card holder at that point as to where they go and get their materials. And what you're saying, Rich, is that we should probably look at that policy and see if there's a way that we can, it's gonna be hard to enforce something.
I understand. I would have just hoped the staff would have really, after we passed it 5-0, would have done everything they could to try to buy locally. That's where I'm kind of, if we're gonna keep our money local, we're gonna brag about we have this policy, we should be doing that as much as possible, from my perspective. Any thoughts from?
Well, I agree. I think as long as it's not, prohibitive as far as long as it's not time prohibitive.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
as long as it makes sense, certainly, I think maybe we can reword it or massage it or. I worry that this is getting into the weeds a little bit, and we don't really want to micromanage staff to that degree, I don't think. It seems like we should, make it known that we prefer things to be bought locally, and we've said it in public, we've all said it, we've all agreed, we'd like things to be purchased locally when possible. I personally would rather spend less money in almost every case.
I agree.
But I think we're probably good with just that sentiment and passing that on through Cheryl.
Just sort of, just like a recommendation to, or a suggestion to buy locally whenever possible. I think that's the best we can do, and.
I like that.
Otherwise, it gets a little.
As long as it happens, I mean, that's my thing. Yeah.
It'd get a little too difficult to try to manage it and figure out.
I understand, and trust me, I've been wrestling with that. How do we make this happen and make it equitable and easy? And because the last thing I want to do is we don't want to put 30 extra hours in somebody's week by going, oh, I got to do all this, and so now you know.
Yeah, I'll send an email to just remind.
Thank you.
To remind staff.
Well, and I can just add on that, I actually, I know, we're talking about actual physical purchases, but I do know that there have been some contracts granted, and I think one was for mowing, where that was utilized, and so we don't see that necessarily.
Right.
And we actually, the person who received it, when they were told about that policy, actually had pretty positive feedback. So I do think that's happening.
It is.
And we just may not be seeing it in all aspects, so.
Awesome. You feel comfortable with that, Rich?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Anything else?
That was it.
Okay. Lee?
Yes, sir. Couple things. First off, and probably most importantly, Brian Faust, Director of Public Works, and myself will be appearing tomorrow night at the Street Sidewalk Stormwater Advisory Committee to be held over in the Senior Citizens Center at 7 p.m. Also, I just wanted to throw out a suggestion. We've gotten a lot of, I've looked at a lot of the feedback we get from the community on planning, and over the years I've heard over and over again, folks would be interested in a community center of some type. Seems like over and over again it's a recurring theme whenever we talk about budgets and things like that, and when you go ask people what they want to see, they want to see a community center. So I was thinking about it, and one of the things that I think we might be able to do is perhaps leverage a public-private partnership with someone like the YMCA. And so I was talking to Cheryl about that over lunch earlier this week. So I wanted to see what everybody would think about that.
I think it's a great idea.
I think, yeah, I think the idea has merit. We've got friends over at the YMCA. I've had some friends of the city or city board members. And yeah, that's the public-private partnership for something like community center might make sense, especially when there are some big public park pieces that we're working on here in the near future. You're breaking Jeff's heart. He's on his way out the door, and you're up here advocating for a community center.
I thought it would be appropriate since Jeff is leaving.
Yeah. So,
Now we can ask Johnson County for some more money.
Right.
Well,
we got an inside man.
The direction, I guess, from council would be something along the lines of asking Cheryl and staff to go and study this,
Yes.
perhaps?
Yeah. Well, and I would suggest, I mean, let's talk about it, who the appropriate public partners and private partners would be. Because certainly there would probably be more than just the YMCA that might be interested. And start planning with people about where the appropriate space might go. You know, who knows, maybe we can work out an arrangement with another property owner that's around here that wants to be part of it, so.
I had one last thing.
Please.
And this has to do with the signage. I was just gonna ask if it's possible if we could come up with, or have someone come up with 3 or 4 possible, concepts for signs to present at a later date, and maybe even put it in front of the public, so that we have 3 or 4 different options that we can show, and we can show the super expensive down to the super inexpensive, and kind of get some feedback and see what the public sentiment would be for that. It seems like that's probably a better course of action than what, you know, it seems like we've sent Brian off to study this alone, and without a lot of guidance.
Yeah,
So-
right.
And artist renderings are probably something that is gonna come well within your spend authority, wouldn't
Oh,
you
yeah.
think, Cheryl?
Yes, so then, just clarify, so then instead of looking at just kind of a modular sign at the entrance, we would bring you back a couple of different options that we would then take to the public.
Yeah.
Okay.
If that's the consensus of council.
You're saying all the way up to like anywhere from modular to 100,000?
I think you heard like the most expensive one I heard was
Around 100,000.
around 100,000, so start there and go down.
Sure, okay.
And then also, let's take a look at locations. So, we know that there's a potential for a monument north of I-35 and 175th Street. What other locations will we want to put gateways and,
Okay.
you know, kind of what our footprint would be?
We can do that.
Project. We want to get it done right, that's the whole point. We want to do this right, we don't want to be revisiting,
Right.
you know, it over and over again. You know, it's going to cost us more money, so.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Councilmember Harrison, anything?
I just have 2 things. So one, I have been participating for the last 3 quarters in a group called the Joint Community Forces, which focuses on support of active duty and veteran military. And one of the, I guess, positive things for us is we are the only city that has been participating. They've actually reached out to multiple cities in Johnson County, and nobody actively participates. And so one of the things that they would like to do is perhaps utilize or partner with us on some opportunities, and it's mainly around communication of services, but it's also a benefit to our businesses because a lot of our businesses provide discounts and special services for military, so it's advertising and giving credit for that. So I just kind of wanted to determine from council, I mean, we can set up a meeting with the lead of this group, with Cheryl and Danica, to maybe come up and work with a presentation, or we can have them come and present kind of what their thoughts are. This would just, in my personal opinion is, I think it would be good if they met with Danica and Cheryl, because we would be the first. So I don't know what they would really necessarily present other than a laundry list of ideas. So maybe if they could fine tune something and then bring that before, I just kind of wanted to get thoughts on that.
I think that Unless there's a reason that you think administration wouldn't wanna pursue something like this, I think it's well worthwhile. We've got several veterans on the governing body.
4 of them, right?
And,
Well, we have a pretty good active duty population, reservists and
Yeah.
active duty.
And active duty,
So I
so-
think it would be beneficial.
well, and I think it'd be well received by the community, so.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I attended one of those when they hosted the event here
At the Legion.
in Gardner, at the Legion, so. And yeah, maybe if we set an example, maybe some of the other cities in the area will pick up the torch.
I like leading.
Yeah.
But
Thank you.
Oh, go
my
ahead.
second thing was, I was just gonna, again, kind of what everybody's saying, Jeff's gonna be a great loss. I had the privilege of meeting him when he first started. I had maybe been coaching in Parks and Rec for a year, and then Jeff came, and so seeing that progression and the advancement that we made, and just the level of professionalism has been, like nothing I've ever seen, so he will be dearly missed.
Well, she stole my thunder, but best of luck to you, and I know you'll do great there, so.
Steve?
I got my thunder stolen twice. I'll just pile on. When I first came into the council back in 2013, one of the first people I had a chance to bend the ear of was Jeff, and it was interesting because I had a relationship with Parks and Rec because I'd been doing coaching for several years. When the Parks and Rec department took over the soccer, which was a big undertaking, there were a lot of teams, a lot of kids, and they just pulled it in without even skipping a beat, and it's been a lot of fun. I think that from my perspective, I see there are quite a few shining stars in this city in terms of staff. I think that the Parks and Rec department has been one of the brightest, and highly professional, highly competent, can do much greater events than you would expect a staff as lean as it is to be able to pull off. And so I want to congratulate Jeff on his new endeavor, and don't forget about us. I know you're still living here, so.
Still living here, still playing here, and still working around here.
Absolutely, but thank you. Thank you for all your work and all you've done for the city.
Appreciate it.
Well, Cheryl, we're having a little bon voyage for Jeff, are we not?
Yes.
Yeah. What time?
Oh, look back at your email.
Is it
2.
two?
Okay, I was gonna say 2.
Yeah.
2, and that's, public's invited to that too, right?
You just did.
Public's invited
Yeah,
to
public,
that.
you're invited.
You two
Oh.
are invited.
Here's,
I thought it was to keep me from skipping out early.
We'll block the doors.
actually, Chief said he was gonna park Zeus outside his office.
Yeah, he did.
On his last day, keep him here.
Yep.
But yeah, I will go ahead and add my 2 cents about this. When I first moved to the community, one of the first things that I did that gave me a sense of the community was go to the Earth Day, Arbor Day cleanup. Todd's actually going to welcome everybody for me this year because I'm gonna be at the League of Kansas Municipalities meeting, which, if you haven't signed up and you're interested, I highly recommend going for anybody on the dais here. But Todd's agreed to stand in for me. But it was one of the first things I did, and one of the first things that made me realize how special the community was. I talked to Jeff that first time, and I'm sure he probably doesn't remember, but he was warm and wonderful, just as he has been throughout my time here, and just as he has been towards everybody in this community that's had to deal with him, that's had the pleasure of dealing with him. And we're glad to know that you're not going far. We're glad to know that you're going to an intergovernmental partner of ours, that you're going to remain in the community and stay active, that your youngster Brock's probably going to be playing sports at the high school next year, if I understand correctly. And those are all great things, but it will be a loss, but at the same time, you have set the table for the people that follow you, and And on behalf of the city of Gardner and grateful citizens, I want to say thank you and best of luck.
Well, I appreciate it, and appreciate all the kind words. I assure you that you have a team of staff back here that will continue to do things that make this community proud and make it community. So, you're in good hands, I assure you of that. So thank you very much.
With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion Melton, second Harrison, that we adjourn. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstention? We stand adjourned.
I like that. Yeah, is your drink share? I mean, it sounds like it's gonna be quite the event.
Okay. Okay. They probably need